Hello and welcome once again. Today we're going to be talking about another blue team which knows how to win a lot of trophies. And I'm talking about Manchester City, who have completed their treble with the biggest prize in Europe, the Champions League. And I've got a fellow citizen with me. Not a fellow citizen, but a citizen definitely with me, which is Abel. Abel, good to have you back. How are you doing, man?
Yeah, I mean it's been tough. 2 weeks for 2 to 3 days for me personally, or 4 days for me personally, because I was suffering or battling through sickness. By God's grace, I'm here, well and fine, talking about what I love the most, which is talk about sport and to cherish my favorite team who win the treble finally. The monkeys of the back, but yeah, I mean, glad to be back, man. I mean, it's I've been watching you guys do it over the last 3 days from the backstage, but to be involved in it is something is the urge which I can never control. But finally I'm here because I had to take rest for personal reasons, and yeah, I was not good enough to come out and put up a live show. I was that unwell. But yeah, as I say, for by God's grace I'm fit and fine, and glad that I'm back here talking again. I lost you, Jaren. Are you there? I think we lost Jaren for a while. But yeah, as I was talking about, let's talk about Manchester City. Start off with, I mean, what a season it's been. I mean, for me as a fan, I would say yes, I'm very content with the fact that we've been able to win this trophy. But at the same time, the mentality of not giving up, just want to go out there and put up another season,
Yeah.
another show, it's going to remain. But I'm very content. I'm very content at this point of stage with what has happened, because it only deserved this title to finally get recognized. Because whatever you do, ultimately, if you don't win the Champions League, you don't get the recognition. So you had to get the star on your badge in order to be recognized as the best team in Europe or the best team of this generation for some odd reason. And finally, I'm glad that we've been able to get that.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a monkey off the back, as you rightly said, because I think whenever we talk about City or whenever people talked about City, it was always this thing, right? That Pep's never won. Pep has never won a Champions League despite having a super squad. But now I think you finally completed that last stage of of your European conquest, to speak the reality, because many knockouts, many times you came to the knockouts, had heartbreaks. The one against Chelsea, the one against Real Madrid come to mind, but there were no mistakes this time around. It was clinical, and yeah, I mean, I like this comment from Nabil. Abel, you don't look. He says Abel doesn't look happy. I think that's partly because he's still recovering from that little bit of stomach bug which infected him. But yeah, I can tell you what. I'll tell you what. He's been very happy. At least it's helped him overcome, or I'm assuming Abel, it's helped you overcome that the failures on the cricket side of things, because I mean, this was that one trophy that every citizen wanted to get their hands on.
Yeah, absolutely agree, man. I have to admit, firstly, this was a heartbreak which I had to live the last 3 years, especially because we came very close. I would bar 2020 because 2020 was such a shit show for both for Barcelona and for Manchester City to get knocked out in the quarterfinals. I was not very pleased with that. But barring that, 2021 we came very close against Chelsea. I think I've repeated this so many times in the show how heartbroken I was after that Chelsea debacle in 2021, because see, going into that final, I knew that we were the favorites to win that cup because Chelsea were not the favorites. Let's all accept it. Manchester City were the favorites to win it.
Yeah,
2022, I thought against Real Madrid, we had the cup in our hands. Literally, we had the cup in our hands because people have said Liverpool was going to be tough, but I thought if we would have defeated Real Madrid there, we would have gone to win that there as well. So there were 2 years where you really had it and you made a mess of it. And finally, you had to get past Bayern Munich, you had to get past Real Madrid, and you came up against possibly one of the toughest final challenges in Inter Milan. Now, you would say with the name Inter Milan is not big, but they did give City the bigger challenge that any other team in this entire
yeah,
season. I would
they did,
say
they did.
it was one big challenge for them. It was never going to be easy to go out there and to just pull out a win right out of the hat, and it was never going to be the case. Inzaghi and his men really prepared well coming into this final, and that really showed in the way they played in the first 65 minutes of the game, and that really showed because they never let Man City off the hook. They kept Manchester City on the check, even there, even after 65 minutes. even when City scored, they had their chances. It was never a Manchester City dominant performance. The XG was 1.67. That's what we're talking about with with Inter Milan. Now you talk about Manchester City having 0.97 XG and Inter Milan having 1.67 XG. You'd never buy that. You'd be like, nah, man, it's not happening because it's absolute cap. What you're talking about. Okay. But if you have seen that game, Lukaku had his chance. You're talking about Lautaro had his chance. Everybody had their chances in sparks. It was just about now getting to convert it and making it 2-1. Maybe Inter Milan could have gone to win this game. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm ultimately happy. Finals are to be fought like this and won. That's why it's finals. And last 4 finals, all of them have gone 1-0. It's been cagey, man. It's been cagey. Ultimately, you're getting the cup in your hands. So nobody's going to bother talk about how the final went about.
Yeah, but let's talk about Inter as well. I mean, what a story they have had. They've not had the best of Serie A. They've really struggled, to be very frank, in that competition. It was
Yeah.
not the Inter Milan we saw last year at all when it comes to the Serie A. But having still fought for so long, they did not have a sponsor for so long as well. They ended up third, by the way, in the Serie A, which is a good thing. They also really competed in that match. I mean, they got their tactics right. The manager was really spot on. It's not very easy to get the best of this Man City team. They did not give him any space. They were pressing high and they were pressing. It was very difficult. There's no spaces available as well. I genuinely felt able that in the first 10-15 minutes, Inter Milan did miss the chance of going 1-0 up because they were that prolific. I mean, when it comes to just defending, when it comes to shutting Man City down, and then from there on, whenever they went on the counter, Man City defenders did struggle, and it was all individual brilliance that really stopped them because I mean, there was this one chance that Ruben Diaz stopped Lautaro Martinez in his tracks. There was another one where I think John Stones was the one who came in and got in a very important interception. So overall, you would have to say in the first 15-20 minutes, it was Inter Milan and just Inter Milan. And it just seemed like Man City were once again going to bottle it on the big day.
Yeah, I agree with you because Manchester City was slightly taken aback with the counter pressing strategy which
Mm.
Inter had deployed against Manchester City. Their pressing and triggers was so important. I mean, we often talk about Inter Milan with their strategy of staying back and making very defensively solid lineup or a compact setting. But that was not the case when Inter Milan lined up against Manchester City in the first 30 minutes. They closed out all the passing lanes in the middle of the park. They overloaded the central region, which also meant that the Manchester City midfield, especially the CDM of Rodri and also Gundogan, couldn't get heavily involved in the game. And to add to that, also De Bruyne a little bit behind the striker couldn't get involved in the game. So Haaland was left isolated with no service. At the same time, the people who were providing the service were blocked in between the park. That's why I think Brozovic and Chalanolu and Barella did a phenomenal job in the middle of the park to make sure that central compactness, the central way in which they maintained the structure was so perfect. And to add to that, let's talk about DiMarco on one side and also Dumfries on the other side, who made sure no in one-on-ones, especially against Grealish and Bernardo, they made sure that they won individual battles against them. So
Yeah.
every time Manchester tried to play the ball wide to the wingers, there was DiMarco or there was Denzel Dumfries who made sure they cut out those and they won the ball time and time again. They pressed, they counter pressed, and they made sure they won the ball quickly. So that's where I think I give credit to them. Their plans was working to execution because we always knew that Manchester City were going to play with the ball a lot more, but Manchester City had to be extremely tentative with their ball playing areas because in the middle of the park they overloaded, which also meant Bastoni was coming into the central half spaces in the final third of Manchester City. He is a left centre back for the marking, but at the same time he came up to pounce upon De Bruyne. He made sure that De Bruyne did not get any small chances, and as Acerbi was on Haaland all throughout the game as well. So which also meant Damian could mark Grealish. Damian and Denzel Dumfries could mark Grealish if at all Grealish gets past Denzel Dumfries at some stage. So that's how they tactically went about it. But at the same time, talking about which, I think the central overload really worked in their favor. Now, that's how that plan really worked throughout the game because Manchester City were kind of ruffled as to what do they do because they were winning the ball time and time again, time and time again. They were also pressing because Manchester City know with the high line of defense they have, if they let go of the ball in the middle of the park, there could be a quick counter attack with Denzel Dumfries, with Lautaro, and with Dzeko kind of holding the ball and playing it out to Dimarco as well. So that's what Manchester City was very worried about. But then one good part was Ruben Diaz, Ake, and Akanji. Akanji
Yeah.
was a slight bit of Akanji was a slight bit of bother for some bit of time at least in that final. But at least for a majority part of it, whenever they were trying to play the ball from the back, from Ederson to Akanji to Ake to Ruben Diaz, he looked comfortable. But then that's where you have to give credit to him. But other than that, he looked in slight bit of bother because they were trying to press Akanji, who was slightly raffled with the ball, I would say so, because you did not expect Dimarco to be on him throughout, and at the same time, even
Mm.
Dzeko to press at him. So that's how Manchester City wanted to operate, but Manchester City's normal course of operation kind of put a halt with the way in which how they went about it. So what Manchester City had to do was to take a tentative option, and Manchester City did come out well. All what Manchester City could do at that point of stage was to do this because physically speaking, Inter Milan are the physically stronger team. We're the physically stronger team on the pitch. So even if you had to win the second balls and even if you had to win the aerial duels, it was going to be impossible. So to play longer ball in that game was not an option for Manchester City because they were. You have to say they were not keeping a low block, but they were keeping a mid block. And that when you're keeping a mid block with physicality and presence, it's so hard to play the long ball in and to win the ball. So what Man City had to do was to play the ball from the back, then wait for one of the players to make a run, especially wait for Grealish and wait for someone like a Foden in the especially in the first half to get involved a lot more. I think Foden's inclusion was a blessing in disguise because his work rate gradually increased, and he was also opening up on the left hand side of the pitch because he's a left-footed player. So he was linking up play with Grealish a lot better. Though Grealish had an awful game, which he personally also accepted, but that's how they went about it in majority of the game. But yeah, to get that goal, you have to credit Akanji, Bernardo once again. Those were the moments which Manchester City needed. They came very close on a couple of occasions, but you needed that slight bit of movement to get past it. And Rodri, is clinical as ever to put that right in
Yeah.
with precision. You have to give him all the credit in the world for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you would have to say that towards the end, once that Bernardo Silva incident, I mean, where Bernardo Silva and his class really was the reason why he was able to get away and then really push the ball back. I mean, you would have to say the angle of pass that he made it from that angle was just a genius move. He pushed it back into the box or there nearby, where Rodri got a complete clear view of the goal. Usually, when a player is pushed that far across the line towards the line, it's not easy, and you always see a 45-degree angle pass across the face of the goal. But this one was right in the path of Rodri, and then to be frank, who else would you have on that field with that opportunity but Rodri? He's someone who's so good when it comes to those long shots. And this one was not really a long shot as well. He just had to shoot that from the edge of the box, and he did a fantastic job. But once that goal came in, it just seemed like Inter Milan had no plan B and they were rattled. But then, yeah, let's move on to some of the comments. I love this one from Saloni where she says, Abel's skin is glowing. Abel, what's your skincare routine? What's your secret?
Getting sick,
There you
absolutely
go,
getting
guys. You heard it first here. You
getting
have to
sick.
get sick in
And
order to get.
just want to also say, if you're studying in good colleges, they make your skin glow. So thanks to my college, thanks to the people who teach me in my college, thanks to the principal, thanks to the HOD, thanks to everyone for my skin to glow every day. I love them. I'm proud to be studying them because they always make me happy as every day. So that's one of the reasons. But nonetheless, man, I'm so glad that I'm able to pull this off by God's grace. So yeah, I'm so happy that I'm here talking football because I've not been well throughout the last 3 days. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, my skin is glowing. I think I'm sweating a lot.
I just wish I was studying in the same college, Abel. I just wish it was the same for me. But Priyanka, Priyanka says that I think she's a Man United fan, and Priyanka is just repeating what David Beckham also said. The first treble from Manchester will always be from the United's end. But then it's been so long, guys. It's been what 25 years now. I think it's time to no forget. I think it's time to look forward, Priyanka. For me, at least from my perspective.
Yeah,
What do
I
you think?
mean, I think you should be happy that only the two Manchester teams have dominated football in the last 2 eras. I mean, Liverpool, I'll put it there, but it's been Manchester
I mean,
dominance.
Liverpool never had the kind of domination that United's had, or I think even
Yeah,
now Man
so
City
that's what I'm
post
talking
their
about. It's been
yeah.
Manchester dominance. So even if you look at the title head of our video, the thumbnail, it's like treble back to Manchester. So let's say that we should be all be happy as United and City fans.
So
The
you're
treble
saying
belongs
that
to the city.
Manchester should be united for City?
Yeah, the treble is back to City, the city of Manchester,
Yeah,
and Manchester City
yeah.
represents the city. So that's what I'm
Fair
trying to
enough.
say.
You'll be the first City fan, I think, who's trying to, trying to negotiate with the United
I'm not trying to
fans. But
negotiate. I'm trying to educate them in a way that they also bite because
there we go. There we go. I brought up the rivalry in him, guys. I did bring
I'm
up the
trying to
rivalry.
educate them because they try to bring this, which is absolutely nonsense. They've not won a trophy in last 10 years. What are they bugging about? I don't even know. Let's watch. I mean, I respect the team, but then, come on, man. Be happy. It's back to Manchester. Let's just be happy. I mean, I respect the team. If Manchester United wins next year, I'll be absolutely happy with that. But let's all be happy the treble is back to Manchester
What?
or back to
What?
England.
What? Could you repeat the last thing again? Would you be happy
But
if
as
Man
long as
United do it?
I'd be fine with it. I'd be fine with it.
Nah, dude. That's such cap. That is such absolute cap.
Yeah,
Dude, I
I'm
really
not
don't
one of
know.
those salty fans, man. If Manchester United plays wills to win the treble, I'd appreciate it because it's not easy to win the treble. That's all. Accept it. The only two teams
It
in
is
English
not.
history have done that, and if you have to do it, you have to accept it. So that's what I'm talking about. Now,
Yeah.
if I was a City fan, and if you have told me like a couple of years ago, aren't we going to discuss on the pride they took on the great embarrassment? I think we did yesterday, but I think we'll do if couple do comment below if you want like an explosive show tomorrow evening, like we did for the
Explosive
T20 World
show.
Cup, the
Oh,
way
dude.
forward. That was the biggest hit on our channel. So if you are excited for that, I am totally in for that show, and let's do it.
Yeah. We'll do a post mortem of India's WTC cycle. I
Yeah,
love
I
that.
think we're gonna do
You
it.
guys are
So
into
I
it.
thought of
The
taking up the
cricket
good things because the
side of things. Yeah.
negativity is so much. Because India's new schedule is out for next WTC cycle. So we'll talk about who should be captaining, who should be the new coach, and
Yeah.
what not
We'll talk
in
about
the
all that.
next episode. What we do because next 1 month we have absolutely nothing to do. So we have to do all this kind of shows to keep ourselves alive in this channel and platform, and that's the only way to survive. So we will bring out these exclusives like any other YouTube channel in our country to do post-mortem and to talk about calling out for heads, which we should. We all are
Yeah,
stakeholders
and
in our Indian cricket
I'll
team.
be there talking about it in a very Hindi news channel like क्या विराट कोहली की का स्पॉट टेस्ट में खतरे में है क्या रोहित शर्मा की कैप्टनसी
Yeah,
खत्म
Deepak Punia
खत्म
should play instead of Kohli, I think, in Test matches.
yeah, but let's get back to football.
Yeah,
Let's talk about Phil Foden and Kevin De Bruyne. First of all, let's talk about Kevin De Bruyne and his unfortunate luck when it comes to UCL finals. Got
yeah,
subbed off in the 60th minute against Chelsea as well, but
yeah.
this time though it did not affect the city as I mean the citizens as much. Phil Foden, you would say, Abel, that he's done a great job when it comes to filling in the shoes of the great man, that is Kevin De
Yeah,
Bruyne,
Kapil.
because he did
For
have
today,
some
we'll talk
impact on
about
the team.
City winning the Premier League. Tomorrow, definitely, we'll get back to cricket because
We'll be
football
back.
season is over and new WTC cycle is announced. So we'll be back to cricket. If you really love football, do join us and do share this with your football friends as well. So we can keep doing.
Kapil says his
My
favorite
only
team is
all-time
Man
favorite team is
United.
Manchester United. I'm so
Always.
sorry, but couple, I'm your rival, but I respect your team. Absolutely, I respect your team.
That's nice. That's actually good, Abel, that you're able to respect your rivals, which is great. But yeah, guys, he's not like this off camera. I'll say that. I'll say that out there. But yeah, let's talk about Phil Foden and Kevin De
Yeah,
Bruyne. The way Kevin De Bruyne was substituted, he had a lot of impact on the match right away because the first chance that came to Haaland was a brilliant through ball from Kevin De Bruyne that almost set him through. If not for Bastone's pressure that pushed Haaland away and really narrowed the angle down, allowing Onana to make that save, you would say that the goal would be in right away. And then again, he almost took a good shot right from the edge of the box, but he couldn't curve it in because of the deflection that came off
yeah.
Arabici. So you would have to say that in many ways he did have a lot of impact on the match right away, but then he had to be subbed off. And then in came Phil Foden. How impressed were you from Phil Foden? Because he is the future, right? Kevin De Bruyne is heading towards his twilight. He's still one of the best out there, no wonder. But if you
Mm.
have to look at the future, it has to be Phil Foden in that position.
You have to see, yes, he was going to be my replacement for Gundogan for the next season. But nonetheless, I don't mind. He's just he was just integrated into the squad at the right time, and such a big game for him personally, for him to come in at 35th minute to take all the burden of replacing the best player in the team and to do a job as fine as he would have done. And you have to say, you have to give credit to that young boy for that. Playing his second Champions League final, he's already played so many, he's already contributed for Manchester in big Champions League games. So this is not something new for him. If you had put in Palmer instead of him, I would have said yes. But for Phil Foden, he's already been there and done it. It's unfortunate that Grealish has had a better season. Grealish is more technically fitted into that system of Pep, which is recently deployed, that Phil Foden had to miss out. But the future is definitely Phil Foden in left mid or left wing for Manchester City, and that's what I see. But the job he did was phenomenal. I mean, there's nothing short of a commendable feat to appreciate it. The way in which he did the defensive work, every time in the middle of the park, Chalnonu was trying to get away, he caught him. And even if you look in the end moments of the game, the way in which he was trying to press and try to win those balls and trying to make sure the balls went out of play, you have to give credit to Phil Foden. That energy which he brings into the field is impeccable. I mean, there is no two ways about it. And now, especially the way in which Pep loves this kid. Pep loved him from the very word go. Right after Under 17 World Cup, he was integrated into the squad. And there was no two ways about it that this guy was going to be a star boy for this club because he's from Manchester. Local boy, first major local boy to be recognized at that level. And now you have many people coming through, but Phil Foden is number one for me. And he's, that credentials which he holds as well at such a young age is incredible. The way in which he links up with Haaland, the way in which he links up with Alvarez, he's such a good player. I mean, you have to give credit to him. You have to give credit to him. There's no two ways about it. And I think this is going to give him a lot more confidence as well. I know his impact cannot be measured in stats for the final game, but you have to say the way in which he was controlling in the middle of the park, moments he got the ball. I think he split open into its defense on multiple occasions, which De Bruyne couldn't do in the first 35 minutes. That's also, I think, is because of the fact that he was carrying an injury. But Phil Foden, the moment he came, he was able to split open the defense. He was much more versatile. He was switching play from left mid to right mid, and he was trying to give more balls wider ranges to Bernardo. Even if you look at that goal where he was tying up with Bernardo Akanji, you have to say those runs which Phil Foden made was impeccable.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about let's talk about this comment here. First of all, Adil says, Abel, you're so calm in wins and losses. Guys, before Abel answers this, I think RCB has a lot to do with it. But then also, I'll be very frank with you, having worked with Abel for so long, he is someone who takes it as it is. And that's a great quality of him. But I think RCB's really mellowed him down. He knows victories don't last long. And he's seen the rough side of Man City as well. I think that's where you have to really give credit to him. He supports teams that haven't gone through the best of times. And I'm glad when his teams win. It's not easy to see him when his teams lose.
Yeah, so for me, see, guys, I'll tell you a very important lesson. Don't take cap for this. Don't make fun. This philosophical lesson, boys. A very philosophical lesson, boys. Listen to it. There's life lessons coming straight out of me.
Yeah.
I'm nobody, but just listen to it. I think sport is to be enjoyed. I think the greatest thing about sport is it teaches life. I mean, guys, I'm not copying this, but just listen to me. It's not ChatGPT. It's nothing. It has taught me it has taught me playing sport that every day you don't get victory. And it has taught me watching sport that every day is not a good day. As a sport fan, I would say go through emotions like it's your life. Because it will give you days where you really feel like you want to end it right here. And it will give you days when you'll be on top of the world. And then you would really want to go back and watch it again. And that's life. You would have days when you're down and out. And you'll have days when you're on top of the world, but you don't give up. You still go on and put that smile and again hope that the next day turns out to be better. And if you have a good day, you want to repeat that again. You don't stop. So that's what sport is. Like with RCB or in Manchester City, one thing which has always taught me is I started supporting Man City when I was in 2009 when this team was not even recognized. Like Abu Dhabi just took over the team and I was like, wow, I got a team to support from a local club. I was like, I'll just support it for the sake of Sheikh Mansour. And I supported it. And for me, I've seen bad days, good days, when we were not competitive enough in the Champions League, when we were absolutely disgusting. So I've seen days as a sports fan when you feel like, oh, should I just stop supporting these teams? But never never gave up. Now, Argentina as well, I supported it because in 2014, I should have given up on Argentina because that was the pinnacle for me. I was like, there was not going to be any other day when Messi's going to come close to the World Cup. And then 2018 happened, and I was like, no, this is it, right? And 2022 again, I came with the same hope that they'll win the World Cup. So that's a sports fan. Like Kapil also says that, what are we gonna do about the last 10 years of an ICC trophy? But we've had days when we have been on top of the world.
Yeah,
We've having
absolutely.
10 bad years. That doesn't mean that good day won't come. That good day
I
will
mean,
come.
I think Abel, for me also, right? Just talking about the cricket side of things, I think we should. I genuinely think we shouldn't really bash India as much. See, the reason why we're all upset as fans is because I mean we've done well in ICC trophies. Any other nation would be proud
Yeah, exactly
of
my
the fact
point.
that
So
they've reached the
as
knockout so long.
as a sports
Yeah,
viewer, I mean, I don't understand. If you've played sport at some stage in your life, you would know to go out there and win is not everybody's cup of tea. Okay, you win,
absolutely.
you lose. Sport is not about going and winning always. You don't win always, guys. If that was the case, you would be playing video games, and you also lose in FIFA, and you also lose in other video games, because that's how life
Absolutely.
is.
Yeah.
Because it's not so easy to go out there and say, "Oh, I can go out there and win matches. I can go out there and do stuff. I can go out there and pull up the best stuff possible." It's not how it works. You go ask a Luton Town guy how much it meant for them to come back to Premier League. You ask an Afghanistan team fan how much it meant for them to go out and compete in T20 World Cup. They've seen the worst of things. You ask a
Yeah.
fan, I mean, I'm not saying we have the infrastructure, we have the money, everything, but then sport is not a video game where you can write a script and say that we can win this. Sport, you lose more often, you lose more than you win. Sachin Tendulkar had more failures than he had more hundreds. So why don't we all accept it? You have to act, you have to watch sport from a point of view as you have to learn how you have to live a life. You can't sit and say that I'm going to watch sport and I'm going to be like my team is going to win. Everybody wants their team to win. If their team is going to lose, how can you sit and abuse them? That's what disappoints me the most. You have to take
Yeah. I mean,
victory
I
and
think
success in the same level. You can't take victory
I
when
think
you're overjoyed.
Abel, I
You can't
just
take losses in a
yeah.
way that, oh my God, I'm going to abuse of my team. Take it in a fine balance. As simple as that. You can't go step out of your way and say that, oh yes, we won, we're the best in the world. Not going to say that. Or we're not going to say we're the most shittest in the world. Take it in a way, in your stride, because you will have bad days and you will have good days. And that's what life is. That's what sport is. Learn to take it, and that's the best thing what you can do. Today I'm happy. I'm just happy. I know this is not over. You want to go out there and do it again. Next season, my team might not win a single trophy, but that doesn't mean I'm going to stop supporting my team.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me as well, I mean, I have always had the luck of supporting, I mean, except for maybe the Indian team, I think the issue at this point in time, to be very frank, when it comes to a lot of people who watch sports, and I'm not talking about anyone in particular, but the issue sometimes happens is we look at these players and we imagine them to be greater than life sometimes. And I think it's okay to have a lot of failures, but it's important to back your team, and it's okay to recognize those flaws. It's okay to talk about it, but I mean, I've been seeing Twitter and I've been seeing Twitter and Instagram for a long time. I think it's wrong to abuse people. You're wrong to abuse those players because let's be honest, they've all given their 100%. Sometimes things don't go their way, and we are upset about the fact that they've not shown the mentality, the winning mentality. But then I think it's also important to know that it's not always easy. It's not always gonna come. And these days we saw this these days right before the 2007 World Cup, the 50 overs World Cup I'm talking about. As Indian fans, we saw those years where Indians kept struggling, kept struggling. But then 2007 onwards to 2013, we were winning everything. We were doing really well. Wherever we went, when it comes to trophies, we were winning, we were doing well. But then the complaint was not doing well in tests. And then we started doing well in tests. The complaint is that we are losing in ICC trophy. So I think many a times you have to take the results as they are and just let's hope the next one, the World Cup that comes, does we do well. Let's just hope that that's how it goes, because I mean we don't want to, at this channel at least we try and not encourage a culture where you go behind a person. We just, if you have to go behind someone, go behind their maybe their work ethic or what they did not give on the field, and not who they are, or not abuse them personally. At least that's just what we hope. And we know you guys, at least on our channel, we are very lucky to have people who always come on our channel and have that mentality, that positive mentality, who only question performances and not really the person or the personality that is there. But yeah, let's move on. Let's get back to football. People loved you, Abel. Uh, boy, make an edit with this. I think we should. I think we should have a boomer edit. What do you do when the lights are cut off and you're looking at your dream again and again? Evil, I think it's time for you to get into that business. But yeah, let's talk about Pep. There's a comment here by Michael Andrew, right? And let's just look at Pep. I'll give you a list, Abel. Two world's best coach, three Champions League now, three World Cup World Club winner, 5 times English Premier League, 3 times German champion. I mean, people don't really count German championship anymore, but then yeah, he did start that era, didn't he, for them? Then I mean, Spanish champions, 3 La Ligas, that is. Then 3 Super Cups, 2 German Cups, two
Hmm.
English FA Cups. It's a long list.
35
Do you
trophies in
think
14
time
years
that
is a
we
good,
say
good trophy
that Pep
cabinet to have.
Guardiola? Yeah, I mean, I think he's got. I think it's not a trophy cabinet. I think it's a trophy room now. It has to be a trophy room. Do you think it's time, like John Marcus says, that Pep Guardiola is better than Alex Ferguson? For me, he is. I think to go in 3 different countries,
Well,
3 different cultures, and to win them, it's amazing. By the way, guys, I have to let you guys know this. I think back when Champions League was not called Champions League, it was called the European Cup. If I'm not wrong, Abel, correct me. Alex Ferguson has won the European Cup with Aberdeen, a Scottish Prem club. So he's not like someone who hasn't done great deeds as a manager. But then I think at this point in time, we have to declare Pep as the greatest manager of all time. For me, he is.
I mean, it's hard. It's very hard to compare the both with both eras. Uh, I mean, if you ask me personally, yeah, you have to say projection wise, Pep will end up being the greatest ever in terms of trophies, and he's already surpassed Sir Alex for the number of Champions Leagues and number of trebles. So that's two big W's or two big tick marks in your great career. What do you have? This is a very short career. Remember, Pep took over Barcelona in 2008 and 2023. We're
Yeah.
talking about Pep with 35 trophies, two trebles with two different teams, and dominated 3 leagues. So that's what we're talking about in Pep. Pep has won every possible league trophies. In the 14 years of manager career, he's only lost league trophies twice. Now that's crazy. 13 league trophies. It's not a joke. He's dominated football. He's made it into Farmers League wherever he's gone into. And we're talking about some of the greatest teams of that era to be playing in that league as well. So Barcelona, so you can also bring this point of view that Pep had the best of teams wherever he went, but Pep also made those teams. Pep never.
Yeah, he did.
It was not like Barcelona was winning trophies like that before 2008. When Pep took over, there was a swagger in Barcelona. You remember
Hmm.
Barcelona of 2009 to 2011 because they had a swagger. And I was very fortunate enough to watch them play live in a Club World Cup final. And I was like, wow, man. That was the most insane bunch of bit of 120 minutes I got to witness in my life. And that's when I really, really fell in love with that team for the first ever time. Um, and I was like, wow, this team is insanely good. And that, I never had that sense even the next year when I went to watch Inter Milan play under Jose Mourinho. I was like, no, it was not under Jose, if I remember, 2000. I don't remember who it was. Yeah, right after the Club World Cup, they did play in Abu Dhabi once again. So I was not very excited to watch that either. But at that point of stage, if one team has really given me that kind of goosebumps, like, wow, this team has done it, it was Barcelona. I mean, it was, you ask any team, I mean, the greatest team to have ever played to put on the park was that 2009 Barcelona team. You tell me you touch it, you can't name any better team than that. That was the greatest style of football I ever witnessed in my life. The greatest legacy which Pep would ever leave in his entire coaching career would be that. And 2023 Manchester City team. Both the teams had resources, impeccable players, but then one man is a common name. That is Pep Guardiola. Now you have to say it is that man which has led to these two successes. And that's what I personally think. Pep Guardiola is much more than a name and trophy. It's about the philosophy, it's about legacy in which the
Yeah.
playing style is
I mean,
considered.
so for me, Abel, this is the thing about Pep, right? There are managers who play beautiful football. You want to watch those teams play. You love watching those teams play. And
Yeah,
then there are managers who are serial trophy winners. And
yeah.
most often than not, that Venn diagram, there is no commonality.
Hmm.
It's always been. I mean, there are managers who play beautiful football but don't end up winning anything. Would you appreciate them for
Yeah,
the kind of philosophy they have? And then there are
yeah,
managers who are serial winners but who don't really play beautiful football. For them, victory is all they need. But
yeah,
Pep has done both, and he does both wherever he goes, and that's for me. That's the reason why. I mean, I've just started watching football very recently.
yeah,
I've
yeah,
not been part of that era where Alex Ferguson did, and that's probably also the reason why I have a recency bias. I'm going with Pep. But for me, that's one thing that I love about him. For example, when Cancelo left, right, he was a key player for them. Most managers, the season would halt there until they found a replacement next season. But Pep was able to come up with something that was so beautiful. The match against Bayern, he didn't need a Cancelo. In fact, you felt that Cancelo leaving was the greatest thing that could ever happen to this club. The way he played those two legs with Bayern. It's just brilliant. The guy is a footballing genius. And it's not a light term when it comes to Pep.
And Pep doesn't matter even if next season, even if Bernardo or Gundogan leaves, because he knows he has a plan in mind. He knows what exactly to do. He's never been raffled with the fact that players are going to leave the club. He's only been focused on what can he do the best with the players he's got and who can he get to replace those players. I don't think Pep's any of the signings has been a failure. Maybe you can call Calvin Phillips a failure, but he's been injured. Sergio Gomez, you can say that you never used him. So none of the Pep signings have been failures per se. Even if you talk about Jack Grealish, ordinary first season, second season, he showed what he's all about. For the matter,
Yeah.
Erling Haaland, possibly the greatest signing of this last 5 years, showed the world what he can do. Now going to be the Ballon d'Or winner, most likely.
We're going to
And
talk
then
about this, by the way.
yeah, and then you talk about players like Nathan Ake, Akanji, which everybody thought will not even start for this team, made them into starters and made them into Champions League final winners. Now that's what we're talking about with Pep Guardiola. He changed that Barcelona team for the generations to remember. Now I think that 10 years or 15 years down the line, we're going to be sitting and talking about this Manchester City team just because of the style of play they had, because of the dominance they had. I know Pep is going to leave in 2025, but he's only left a mark, and I think he's going to leave a mark next 2 years for generations to remember. 7 years with City is going to be remembered forever. And that's Pep Guardiola for you. He had a challenge in Bayern Munich. See, with Pep, every team he took in the Champions League, they were the favorites to win the Champions League. Every single team. Manchester City, from the very first season till now, they were the favorites to win the Champions League. Barcelona from 2009 to 2012, they were the favorites to win the Champions League. Bayern Munich from 2014 to 2016, they were the favorites to win the Champions League. So there's now been a single Pep team who has never been the favorites to win the Champions League. Now that's the quality of the manager we're talking about. So there's always been a sense of belief, whichever team Pep takes, they are the favorites to win the Champions League. Because he has got the aura to change a team around. Because of the philosophy he builds in him. And that is because of the man he is.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's also able for me, if you look at what he does, right? It's not just on the field, it's not just tactics, it's not just the right players he picks. What he does so brilliantly, the players rally around him. And in football,
Yeah.
it's so important that, I mean, a manager in football, most often than not, for me, as being a long-term cricket fan, it's pretty much like the captain in cricket, right? You
Yeah.
rally behind the manager, and wherever Pep is gone, I know he's had tussles with players. It's not no manager's gone by without having a
Yeah.
without fighting with a player. It's a
Yeah.
very normal thing. But what Pep does brilliantly is the team rallies around him. The team loves him. You
Yeah.
see when a player is being subbed off, right? You see the kind of love he gives. Yesterday, when Kevin De Bruyne was subbed off, he took him in, he embraced him, spoke for him at least 10 to 15 seconds in the middle of the match, and then let him go. And that's the kind of manager you want, the kind of manager who will be there for you,
I
who's
mean,
not just
yes,
a coach, but
definitely.
he's
There's not a
there.
lot of players in the world who will be happy with a lot of managers. I mean, even with Pep, I
Yeah,
know a lot of players who weren't happy with him. Let's talk about Samuel Eto'o
of
or
course.
Ibrahimovic or Yaya
Ibrahimovic,
Toure for
yeah.
the matter. Yaya Toure for the matter
Yeah.
when he took. But that's all because Pep did not want them in their system. Pep asked them, "Can you do a job for me?" And they did not do a job for him. And so, if
Yeah.
you can't do a job for Pep, then you don't be in Pep's team. So the
I mean, you
players who
remember
Pep
the
has,
Thierry
as
Henry,
the
the Thierry Henry story, right? Where he talks about how he was supposed to play on the wing, then and play on the wing, go wide, and he tried to cut in, scores a goal, and then gets subbed off in the halftime. That's been Pep. You don't play his role. He has a plan. I mean, Pep has a plan. You follow
yeah.
it. You're off the team, and it's
It's
a
not like
great
the
Thierry
words are coming from
Henry.
an amateur manager. You're talking about a manager now who has won so many trophies. And you follow
Yeah.
Pep's plan, you win matches. That's as simple as that. Now, I think what Manchester City also did not do in the first half of the game was not to follow Pep's plan. They were sinking into the pressure of the final and not into Pep's
Hmm.
plan. So Pep's plan was very
Yeah.
ideal and ordained, but the fact was that they were not ready to sync or be in sync with Pep's plan. And you saw Manchester City were under so much of pressure until Pep needed that half time to calm things down with the boys, saying that calm it down, guys. Just be Manchester City of who we are. And that's one thing. If you listen to Pep, it's as simple. If you're ready to take the bullet for Pep, you be in Pep's team, or else you get out of the team. So that's been Pep's philosophy forever.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's move on. One final question, Abel, then. Erling Haaland or Lionel Messi, who gets their Ballon d'Or? For me, it has to be Erling Haaland. I know I'm a huge Messi fan, but then Erling Haaland has done a lot more, and I think he's equated the World Cup and more to have broken the Premier League scoring record. Like if it was nothing, it's huge, man. It's huge. He deserves his Ballon d'Or. Unfortunately for me, I know this is Messi's last year in contention as a Ballon d'Or player. He doesn't get it anymore for me.
I think Messi, 51-49.
I mean, reasons? Just the voting you feel, or is it your is it yours, or you think this is what's gonna happen?
I think this is what's going to happen because
But
Messi
if
won
you
the
had to
World
pick,
Cup. I think World Cup winner always gets a Ballon d'Or. I know Wesley Sneijder was the biggest robbery in the history, but for me, the World Cup winner with the kind of goal involvements Messi has had with Paris Saint Germain
of course,
individually, and the World Cup with League on slightly ahead, and also with Finalissima. So
yeah,
I think two international trophies with the League on, considering World Cup being the biggest pride and also being the MVP and the second leading goal scorer in the World Cup, I think he wins it. He won man of the match in all the knockouts. I think he wins it by the 2% because Haaland was great, but his knockout performance in Champions League wasn't the greatest except for RB Leipzig. So maybe that's why it drops off. Other than that, stats wise, Haaland deserves it because the treble winner you don't get. You have to give the Ballon d'Or to treble winner. That also means it's very close, but I think
tough
emotionally
call,
people
though.
will give it to Messi. I think people will give it to Messi
Yeah,
because of
but
emotion.
for me, I think it's Haaland. But yeah, let's see how it goes. I
I
mean,
think we have
it's
a
going to
separate
be one
episode.
interesting thing. I know for a fact that a lot of Ronaldo fans are awaiting that. I mean, and also probably a lot of Messi fans because I mean, it would be the greatest goodbye for him if he wins a Ballon d'Or in his last year as a European player. We're
Hmm.
going to be talking about this a lot now, obviously, leading up to the transfer market break. Lot of work already in the transfer market. Lot of, especially I
Yeah.
think a lot of Premier League clubs are being involved because they want to
Yeah.
really throw Man City off the top, establish themselves. But yeah, I mean, just one final thought on how Man City's next season you reckon is going to go. Obviously, lot of things are
Too early.
unspeculated.
Too early.
But what
Way
do you
too
think?
early.
You think it is way too early? But
I'm
as a
sorry, I'm
fan,
sorry,
what
Jalen,
do
but
you
I
think?
just can't answer this question because for me, it's way too early. We just got done with the season. I think we got 2 months now.
Absolutely.
We don't even know what are the departures and arrivals for Manchester City.
Yeah.
So I'll talk about this on July 30th to talk about how Manchester City
Fair
will go
enough.
about because it's way too early for me to talk about it because right now
Yeah.
even team is not thinking about it. Even the I don't even think anybody in the management is thinking about it. But I definitely know there's going to be some big arrivals in the club which also
Hmm.
includes a major winger. So that's what I'm hearing. Rafael Leao is spoken about highly. I don't know if that's going to be the case. And Man City's got the money, bro. I mean, they got the money to do
Oh
it.
yeah.
I think they.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Of course. Of course. But yeah, thank you so much, guys, for joining us, and we hope you've had a great session with us. Spoke about Man City's Champions League victory. It was a long time coming, and they've finally gotten their hands on it. And they were the most nonchalant bunch of blokes taking the trophy as if they deserved it, as if they knew it was written in the stars for them, and it was. It genuinely was written in the stars. But thank you guys for joining us, and make sure you guys don't forget that you can win too, not the Champions League, but you can definitely win a lot if you play on Boom 11, and you're never going to lose at all. There's no relegation when it comes to Boom 11, and you can find it on the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store, whichever kind of phone you use. But you can definitely win. As I said, there's no relegation in Boom 11. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you guys. Have a good night. Bye bye.